Hey, what's going on, everyone? I'm going to do my first Pinterview today, and this is the person I'm going to be doing an interview on. His name's Patrick, also known as Diablopins on Instagram. He's got a Facebook. I'm not sure everything else he's got, but we'll get into it. So let's start. Hey, Patrick, how are you?
Good, thank you. Hi, I'm doing well. How are you, Tyler?
I'm good. Let's excited to do
AKA,
this first one.
yes, thank you very much for having me. This is gonna be fun.
Yeah, I'm hoping we can do a bunch of these with a bunch of other people to get people to kind of know each other in the community and what people look for, and if you have specific pins that other people don't, how can we get the right people to the right people to get the right pins that everyone wants.
Yeah,
So I guess
absolutely. Yeah.
I guess we'll start off with when did you start getting into Disney?
Oh boy. Well, like most of us, we grew up watching Disney movies. I had a particular affinity towards Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, and particularly the evil queen character. I don't know why. I was just drawn to her power and presence, really. And the years go by, and my first trip to Disneyland, there used to be a villain shop inside the castle. I don't know if you know this. It was like in the 90s, I think. So the villain shop was in the castle, and it had all villains merchandise, and it was my favorite place to go because I liked villains, and even before Disney, I was kind of villain oriented already. Like I followed the Joker and horror movies, and anyway. So I go into the villain shop and I find a little pin of the Evil Queen, and that was my first pin I ever owned a Disney pin. But it it didn't. I guess it really portended to what would become, because you fast forward several years later when I visited Disneyland again with my nephews, and I saw these pins, and I thought, oh, I see people wearing pins, and I was wearing a little satchel, and I thought, let me go ahead and buy this, and I'll wear it. And then, I go to another store, Little Green Men, and I see, oh, this is another pin that I don't have of my character, Maleficent or the Evil Queen or the Old Hag or Chernabog. And it just kind of went from there. And then my nephews, they said, oh, look, Pat, pin traders in downtown Disney. And we're like, oh my gosh. So we go there, and that's how it started. I think I had this sort of drive and urge to sort of get every pin of the characters I collect. And there's something in my blood, I think, of collecting, because I used to collect Garbage Pail Kids, comic book cards. I'm a big gamer, and when I play my games, I make sure to get every trophy, every achievement. There's some sort of like completionist accomplishment, I guess, spirit that's in me that just drove it, and it's fun, and I enjoy it. I love it, and it's that's how I got into it, really.
Got to get them all.
Yeah, that's right. You got to get
So
them all, like Pokemon.
So, how long do you think it's been then? Over 10 years?
So I started that pin I got back in the 90s, the first one, but I would say my pin trading career started in 2013, so about 8 years ago.
So, how many pins do you think you have in total, keeper wise? Keeper wise.
Boy, well, I would 10,000. It's so here just, and this is what the numbers based on. So my main collection consists of Maleficent and the Maleficent Dragon, Evil Queen, Old Hag, and Chernabog. So my goal was to collect every single pin made of those characters in production. And for me, the only way to really have a reference was Pinterview. So I was just type in Chernabog, and all the Chernabog figures would come up. And so I basically created my wants list, and I created my key, my collection list, and I used that as a reference. But along the way, I think we all discovered that there's pins out there that that aren't listed on Pinterview. And being a completionist, it's my job to, or it's my desire to get them. So I believe, if I were to go into pin picks, I'd see several thousand pins in my collection, but there's more to that, because I have a whole entire collection of the APs and prototypes and pre-productions and one of a kind pins, mostly because I had already collected all the production run pins, so I wanted to continue. I didn't want to stop, so I decided to continue that.
So for people who are unfamiliar, since you brought it up with artist proof or pre-production or prototypes, for instance, like I know I have a couple. I know I have like the AP Peter Pan profile. I have a couple other pre-production, but it's a very touchy subject on some people. Some people value them way higher, or some are way lower, or they're not desirable in a way, because anyone could just get a messed up pin and take a little punch and put an AP or a PP on the back. So, they're incredibly hard to find. One, I don't know how you have so many, or you just have amazing connections on finding them, because you always seem to get the hardest pins in those collections.
Yeah.
So how do you go about proving in a way that they're actually authentic, or like how do you reference that that's what they really are?
So, when we say production run of a pin, it's pretty much the pin that we buy from the parts or from the stores, right? The one that's produced. So artist proof and pre-production and prototype, these are all various stages in the pin creation process. And, AP stands for artist proof. It's typically a very similar version as the production run, and it's given to the designer of the pin to approve. A pre-production, that's when you start to have variations in the color, in the metal color, in the fill, and that's a little bit of an earlier stage in AP. And then prototypes, depending on which genre, if it's Disney auctions, Disney shopping, the prototypes can be like one-of-a-kind variants of the pins that were produced. They can also just be metal variants. So, for example, if a production run is in gold, it may be a black or silver metal or a bronze metal. So something like that, the color. And in terms of like where I find them and the authenticity, so for somebody like me who's a completist and like pretty hardcore collector, I tend to value these pins higher because they're highly collectible. Like you said, they're rare. Usually the sources of them are from special Disney events. So for example, when Soda Fountain or Disney Studio Hollywood, they have trading boards, there are a bunch of AP pins, you're getting it from the source. Same thing during the annual pin events at Walt Disney World. So there's trading boards there. And there's also auction lots of several of these AP and prototype pins. And there have been people who've been doing this since the very beginning. So we're talking about like 20 to 25 years. And these are people who have the prototypes and the one-of-a-kinds and were there when Disney auctions were auctioning off online. And so they have them, and they're typically collectors who are very well known in the community and who are very trustworthy and that I trust and who I've gotten some of my pins from. And it takes a lot of work. I mean, we can talk about that. It takes networking, takes time, takes patience. Money can help sometimes, but not always, because some people just trade pins. They don't sell them. So I have to find the pins that they want. So it may take some time. But in the end, it's worth it. And that's how I get the pins, really.
So don't want to put you under pressure any, but do you have any you can show?
Oh, yeah. I brought, in terms of what to show, I'm going to show you some of the prototypes and the artist pre-production pins. So for example, this pin set here that you see that?
Yeah.
It's the Villain group set. So it's a gold, black, and silver versions. I'm talking about these here. And then this, I believe, is a silver version, whereas the production run was gold. So you recognize this set as the Art Nouveau set from Disney Shopping. This is a gorgeous set. I mean, it's hard to tell with the color, but this is the black, this is the silver, this is the gold. And on the back, I think it's labeled AP. So, so that's that. And then I can just show you several pin sets of the same thing. So same thing with this here. This is an AP, I believe, up here. These are the gomes, And the gomes, very interesting. There's the silver, which I believe was the production run, and then there's the gold, and this is actually a bronze. There, I mean, I can show you the back of that one just because it's just so interesting. It's never really been seen by people. You see that? You see how it's a little orangey?
Yeah, it's like an off color.
Yeah, it's an off color. I mean, and it has the AP stamp. Gosh, I don't know how you can. Yeah, it's on the bottom corner. I think right there.
Yeah, I don't.
It's hard to tell, but yeah. So they're AP. So there's that, and then in addition to the sets, there's also certificates of authenticity. You had a question about how do I know if they're real? Well, here we go. You have, this is the Maleficent Flame Jumbo, which is this pin set.
Yeah, that's another beautiful set.
Yeah, so this is an AP pin set and 3 different metal colors. And it came with a certificate of authenticity, so that's how I know they're real. And and in Disney auctions AP sets, they're pretty much one of a kind. I don't think there's any other AP pin sets like this of this pin. And so I got this pin from Nancy, and who's been around from the beginning. So you have to establish relationships with these people. So and I have several, and then I can pretty much. You asked me what my favorite pin was. I'd have to say this pin set was pretty competitive and difficult to get. This is the AP set of the Maleficent Dragon Gomes in the black, silver, and gold. It was quite a competition because it was a bit off, and it was between me and several other people who wanted to break up the set. But I won, and I kept it for myself.
Yeah.
So this is a pretty good set, I think. And there's several. I have several. I can go through several of these pages, but I have many of these 3 pin sets with the certificate of authenticity. So that's just a sampling, really.
Yeah, I'm super jealous of that first one. You had to show the one with Captain Hook in it.
Oh yes, that's right. That's right. Yeah, and you collect that.
I think I have. I don't have that one, and you just happen to have like 4 of them in all different versions. So.
Oh right, it's the villain set. This one, yeah.
Yeah. I don't have that one. It's on my to-do list to get if anyone out there has it and wants to trade it. I'm in search of it, so
there you go.
I'm not going to break up your set. So how do you go about trading or selling for the most part? Are you do in person? You do Instagram, Facebook?
So I think preferably for me, I like in-person trading. It's so satisfying, and you get to know people, you get to meet people, you get to understand what they're looking for, what they want, what you can offer them, and I just approach it professionally, really. I mean, I try to be friendly. I work my way around. I try to make most pin events that are in person. So before COVID, I make an effort to go to the D23 events where there's pin trading, to go to the soda fountain events that are pin trading. When the parks had pin trading events, I would go there, and also on Sundays, at the parks, or Thursdays. So just doing that on a regular basis, you get your name out there. People start to know what you want, and that's how it's done, really. So, but there's online. So now during COVID, we have social media, and so it's a bit harder for me to, it's not as satisfying because in person you get the pin, you can see it. Online, it could take a little back and forth, but hey, you can trade with people overseas, you can trade with people in Florida, there's a bit more of a reach there. But yeah, any way you can trade, that's how I do it. That's how I would do it.
And then what's your typical style of trading? Is it 1-for-1, bulk? Is it, if it's a cross between the two, super high for super high? So
I've learned over the years in trading that completing a trade, going through with it, really, it creates a goodwill between the parties, and And when even so for example, let's say they have something for my collection, and the pin they can value whatever value, and then I can know what the value is based on eBay selling, on whatever. But my goal is to get it for my collection, and based on what they want from me, I really don't mind going over value a little bit because it's for my collection. Now, if I'm trading just for the sake of trading for another trader, I'd like it to be something of equal value or maybe even a little higher. But if it's for my collection, I try to be more flexible. And in general with trading, I try to be flexible too, because like I just said, when I say yes, to something, people are happy. We're happy when we make a trade. I think all of us have kind of felt the, bit of a sting or disappointment when, there's a pin we really want, but they don't see anything of ours that they want, or, so you have to ask, so what are you looking for? So you just kind of, be persistent with that.
Yeah,
because be flexible.
Yeah, because everyone's always looking for different stuff. I look at people's books all the time, and I either see something I need to have, I want to have, or nothing. So, I mean, it's hard because especially if they see something that they really want, it's sometimes you get put in that hard spot of, sorry, I can't, or
right.
I'll bite this one and I'll try to make up for it later, or but trading's trading.
There's been times when I felt like, wow, this person has really earned this pin, and I'm just gonna, trade it to them. So, for example, when I was in Walt Disney World during one of the huge trading events, they had the trading boards, and I tend not to wait in line because it can take hours to get through that line and finally trade for something. So what ended up happening is that I had some of these young kids who they knew what I wanted. They knew that I collected these villains, and they would wait in line, and then they would come to me with these AP pins. I'm like, oh my gosh, you did this? And I wouldn't mind giving them like the WDI pin or something, whatever they wanted. So, in a way, to me, if somebody shows me a dedication, of earning a pin, like I recognize that. So, I think that's another interesting dimension. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I know some people love just the solid bartering part of trading of, I'm gonna get this pin. I know you have it valued at 100, but I want it at 80. Just the pure bartering part is what sparks people's interest, and other people just don't care. And the hard part is when everything's based on values on eBay, it's hard because it could be $50 one day, and then you look a week later, and all of a sudden it's $300, and sometimes it's just really hard pinpointing a price.
Yes, I agree. When at the tables, for example, before COVID, when you would look up the value of a pin, I mean, like you said, you're going to see a range, and if a pin just recently sold for, let's say, 100, but you see previous prices at like 75 or 65, or even like, you want to take an average, because I've seen some people who just look at the highest it's ever sold, and that's what they value it at. I find a little bit more success in trading when I'm a bit more flexible and take like an average value, and I think people appreciate that too. And so it kind of makes you somebody who people want to trade with, rather than somebody who just values their pin super high and it's hard to trade with. Because we know, there's people like that, and that's fine. And everyone's going to trade in their own way, and everyone has their own goals. Some people are in it for a business, for the money. Other people, just a hobby. But I think all of us would like to enjoy the process, and I think it's more enjoyable when, you can fit a trade and we're flexible with the value.
Right, and you obviously don't do it for business because you have a full-time job. We don't need to get into what you do for a living, but you're not a full-time pin seller trader person. So
no, I'm not. Yeah.
You're
it's
solely
just recently
in it
that I got into. Huh?
You're solely in it to complete The
Yeah, that's right.
never-ending spree of Disney putting out new pins.
That's right. It never ends, and it's always exciting. Just today there was an announcement of new profiles from Mickey's at Glendale. So it got everybody a buzz, a blaze. So it's exciting. It's fun, and it'll never end.
Yeah, I'm excited for them. I probably don't have any connects to get them. I'm just hoping someone will let me borrow them so I can review them.
I'm sure you will.
I hope so. I mean, the hype's there. Everyone wants them. It's a new set of profiles, so they're going to be crazy.
Hmm.
So, do you have a solo favorite pin? Like one that blows the rest away? Like this is the one.
That's a great question because it seems obvious. Like what's your favorite pin? And there's a few that come to mind, and they may seem underwhelming only because they may be very small but they're extremely rare. And I do have one of a kind pins that Disney themselves say this is the only pen that we made of this. And there's a certificate that comes with that. So I have one of the Old Hag and the Evil Queen that I was so lucky to get from Young Queen. And so there's those, and then there's other ones that, I mean, there's H.I. Wolf, and for some reason he's able to just find these pins that no one else can find. I don't know how he does it, but he knows the characters I collect, and so I did get an Evil Queen pin from him that not on pin picks, I've never seen before, and it just no one knows about it, but it's an authentic Disney pin. So something like that. Those are the pins that I just feel super special to have. There's something very nice in knowing that I have an exclusive pin like that.
Yeah. See, I get asked that question every time someone comes over and they're looking at my collection. Like, do you have a favorite one? It changes every single time someone asks me because I can't decide. Certain ones, I have like a top five, but it's hard. I love the old auction pins. It's
Yeah,
definitely
me
one of
too.
those.
I think one that comes to mind is the Maleficent Square Gomes pin. That's a beautiful pin. I think that depiction of Maleficent she looks beautiful, and she's not, because in some pins they make her look very evil and ugly, and I like those pins too. But that particular pin is just a gorgeous, I think, rendition of her, and it's very valuable, and that's one of the harder pins to get, one of the rare Gomes. So that's one that I wouldn't mind having an AP set of, which I don't. I only have the production run, but I don't know. It's somewhere out there. I don't. It's the search will go on.
Yeah. Let's see. What questions do you have for me?
So I really appreciate that you're doing this. You're interviewing people and you're talking about the pins and what inspired you to kind of create this sort of medium, this channel?
Um. Well, it's weird. It just kind of like came to me, I guess. So with COVID, I'd go to the parks every week, every Sunday, see the same 50, 60 people. It was kind of like a hangout group at the same time where even if you weren't close with someone, you still had that sort of relationship where you could go up and go, hey, how are you? How are you doing? Can I take a look at your pins? Did you get anything new this week? You can go through and people cycle pins a lot faster than others. And once COVID hit and the park shut down, didn't have that anymore. And then I kind of noticed certain people starting to ask like certain questions about, this is about me. A lot of the people are the ones who do a lot of live sales on Instagram or on Facebook, or they have a bigger following and they're trying to get people to know who they are in to keep everything active, because it can go stale. And for a long time there was no new pins coming out, there was no nothing, so a lot of they had to keep the interest or entertaining other people into pick me, this is what I have, and I've never been a big like poster. I should be posting more. I really should, but I don't rotate through pins that often. You know, I may get a pin or two in. Like I have 4 or 5 pins that came in the last week. So, I mean, I might do a review video on them. I mean, they're nothing super crazy, but I got this one in. No Maleficent, sorry, but I got this one. Not a huge. He's a harder to find one, but not part of my collection. So, in hopes of doing this, I can gain some followers. I can get a lot of cool interviews, I guess, with different people you don't see at the parks all the time. For us, it's common because we get to see all the big players. We get to interact with everyone so much, but it's not just SoCal based.
Right.
Everyone around the
good.
world collects. So
That's right, and this is a great medium to reach out to newcomers and talk about pin trading. I mean, so many people, like, I have a question like, how do you get your pins, or how do you have access to them? And I say, just try. You can, there's different ways to shop Disney. There's pins online. There's the online pin releases. Become a D23 member. There's pins you can get that way, and these are pins that cost, right? So, it's a way to help new people, because this hobby, I think, has a constant stream of new pin traders, and there is some turnover. Some people do it for a few months, and then, or they've done it for several years, but then they life happens, or they grow up, or
they put it away, and it's like a different life. They put it away, and then a year or two goes by, they open a box, and they're like, oh my god, I forgot about all my pins. I missed this, and all of a sudden they want to get right back into it, and then, you can easily sell all your pins off, get out of collecting all in general, and you could dive right back in just as easy. I mean, it's just expensive, but you could dive right back in.
Oh yeah, so it's a great thing, and I'm glad I stuck with it, because it's just a great hobby. I mean, I think it's good to have hobbies, because you meet people of all sorts of people. That's kind of what hobbies do. It brings you together with people who you may not really hang out with ordinarily or meet. So that's a good part of it.
Yeah, and then that way you get to, in this way I get to meet people from, like, hopefully I'll interview people who are in, like, the Midwest, or people in Texas, or there's a lot of traders up in, like, New York, which I find fascinating because you're not near either park, but there seems to be a ton of them up in that upper East Coast area, and they have pin events in New York City, which I've never been to. I would love to go to one. I mean,
right?
I see it get posted on Facebook, and then you get these pin events out in Vegas. You get them up north near San Francisco. So, I mean, they pop up all over the place. You just gotta look. And I mean, Disney World's always fun going because there's a ton of traders down there, and seeing, I mean, we're going to talk about trading in general, seeing the difference in how West Coast trades, how East Coast trades, how Paris people trade. I've never really, like, done pin trading from people like in China or Japan, other than, fancy pins, but every area they trade so much different. So if we can bring stuff to light of seeing how other people trade, it may help them get trades that they normally wouldn't. Like, if you're going to trade with an East Coast person, they may not do one for one. Their pins, their trading books are not as stacked, in my opinion, as if you were to come to the West Coast tables and trade. You're going to, here we see the highest pins on any given Sunday. You're going to run into, some people bring like $10,000 worth of pins to the park, and it's just, these are my traders, and then they're just looking for some random stuff. You go to Disney World, you look in their books, it's a lot of hidden Mickeys, park pins. I mean, they've got tons and tons of stuff. And how you go about trading with those people, you got to change your trading atmosphere a little bit. Like, you got to know your expectations when you go over to different areas of just knowing how they trade. And Paris people, I've seen them just straight go off of LE size. They don't care what the value is. If my pin's LE 300 and yours is 300, let's trade.
Great.
And the values are way different, but they go, look, it's the LE size. That's how I want to do it.
Yeah.
And you either like it or you don't. You know, everyone trades different.
Oh, absolutely. I think that's extremely important. I mean, if you have an opportunity to go anywhere besides, your local environment to experience trading, do it. I think it's great. I mean, you come back thinking, wow, it's a good experience.
Yeah.
Because the people trade differently, and it's also just another opportunity to network, get to know new people, and make connections. And you got to look out for each other. I mean, because no one. I mean, depending on what you collect, I mean, you're gonna need help.
Yeah.
You're gonna need people looking, having eyes out there for you, and and there's a few people who I can name that do that, and that's great. It's amazing. So, it's creating good connections.
Yeah. I mean, finding pins that are, auctions that are LE 100 that came out, I don't know, 15 years ago, you got to think there's not 100 pins left. You got to think like half of them are probably in forever homes. A couple have probably been thrown away. Unfortunately, people don't know what they are. Someone passes away, someone gets a collection, this is junk, and they toss it. So that LE 100 is maybe only really like a LE 75 at this point, and if half are in forever homes, there's not a lot out there. And
that's right.
That's still what blows me away is you're able to get all these prototypes, completer pins in a way, because that's really what they kind of are. They're completers. Because it's not the production. It's like a separate category. It's like the chaser pins.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
They easily could have fallen through a crack a long time ago and never seen the light of day again. And that's like your specialty, especially in those characters.
Right. Yes, that's it is. I mean, I think I've been doing it for several years now, because I think in the first 3 or 4 years I had already completed most of the collection, for me to, I mean, at some point I almost came to the realization that, well, what happens when I have all the pins I want? Do I just become a collector and not trade anymore? Just collect the pins as they come out? But I still trade though, and I've created Diablopins, based on that. So. I trade for other traders. I trade for just small little pins that come out from Loungefly and my characters. I trade for pins that I know people want. It's just fun. Just do it. I'm really looking forward to the in-person events.
Yeah. Are you going to any of the? I think the Kraken's doing an event. I think next month.
Right. So yeah, there's 2 events. I'll go to the one that they have here in Anaheim, but I won't be able to go to the one in Florida. However, I do think Florida may be Walt Disney World may be having a few events this year, because COVID restrictions are easing up, and if anything, Florida is a little bit more lax when it comes to COVID than, let's say, Disneyland, for example. So I think it may happen. So we'll see.
Yeah, because I know Kraken's doing an event next month, and they're doing one in Florida, and they also have another one, and it's not off the top of my head. It's either June and July, or July and August, but they're doing 2 at the same hotel down here in Anaheim.
Oh, yeah, let's do it. Let's go.
Yeah, it should be fun. I'm excited. I can't wait to get back into it, because I went to Disney World in January, and I brought my pins, but they did not go in the park with me because trading wasn't allowed. And that was prime COVID. You brought your stuff, and nope, sorry, no pin trading. You got to do it off property or whatever. So I met up with local pin traders at, it was a first Kraken event. Just happened to be on my vacation plan. I had my trip planned for like months, and they put out, hey, we're doing an event, just happened to coincide, and half the people that I saw there are all from SoCal. We traveled all the way to Florida just to do an in-person trading when we all probably live within less than an hour of each other, and we flew all the way to Florida to do it.
That's right. Yeah. That's a bit ironic, yeah.
It
I mean,
is.
I
It
think
is ironic when you walk in. You're like, we all came all the way here to do this.
right. I know there's a few East meets West like events I think that they put out, and a lot of us West Coast people flew out there, but there was a lot of Florida people there as well. So, it's another good event.
Yeah, I think those events is where you find some of the harder to find pins because people bring their A game when they go to those things. So
Oh yeah, I mean, I think out of all the events I've gone to over the years, to me, my biggest hauls and like the coolest finds have been during the Epcot annual pin events. The official event that they have every year. I mean, because that is an opportunity to trade with people all over the world. And I think it's good to just, I mean, be systematic about it. I just went from row to row to row, all day, both days. And then there's trading at night at the hotels, and then there's even like an independent pin event. So I did everything. And then at the end of the weekend, I saw my pin haul, and I'm like, damn, this is like, it equals the whole year of trading for me. But that's because I work it. You got to work. You got to put in the time, to do it. But it's what your priority is. I mean, everybody's there for a different reason. So for me, I'm pin hunting. So that's what I'm going to do.
yeah, it's always the main goal is let me find that one pin I don't have.
Yeah.
All right, I think that covered all the questions I had scheduled. Anything else that you can think of?
I don't know. Thank you. Thank you for having me. I feel honored. I think I'm one of your first guests. So
You are the first, and hopefully we'll have you back on again for another topic. Hopefully we can cover your art on the next one because you seem to have as much art as you do pins.
Hey, that's right. I mean, that's another offshoot. I mean, I started with the production run, then I went into AP prototype, and now I'm doing art, which is a completely, different, a bit more expensive thing, but it's beautiful. I mean, the Disney art that comes out of the studios is just gorgeous, and I think even, I like originals, but I mean, there's limited edition prints and there's all these different ways to enjoy it, and it's beautiful. And I have it framed. I mean, I think I framed your progression set that I see back there behind you. I just, it's a beautiful way to appreciate it.
Yeah, it's the one thing I've learned with Disney is you start here and it's one pin here, one pin there, then it's just a giant rabbit hole. You keep falling down and there's no stop. There's really no bottom.
It's good to be focused. I mean, because there's so much out there. There's hundreds of thousands of pins, and more are being made every day. So it's good to kind of narrow things down. Otherwise, yeah, it's overwhelming.
Oh, you have to, or your entire house is just going to be full of metal.
Right, and all these different things. I mean, there are some people who really do collect like almost everything. So, but who knows?
All right. Well, I think we'll probably end on that note. But thank you again. Hopefully, we'll do this again soon, and hopefully, we'll get more people. I'm excited. I want to. If you make custom Disney stuff like ears, if you have an Etsy account, if you make pins, if you are a travel agent, if you just anything Disney wise, I want to hear about it. I'm sure other people want to hear about it. I'm sure a lot of people have other questions. So if there's follow-up questions after you watch this video, post them in the comments. Like and follow so you don't miss more videos. I want to hear your guys' opinions. I want to hear, how can I make this better? What do you guys want to see? Because I want to know as much as everyone else does. So let's make some great videos.